Daly Show.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Kate Daly Show, katedalyradio.com. Over 26 million served on podcast of this here live show. And very excited to be here today with you. And thank you for spending your afternoon with me. I really appreciate it. In fact, there's so many things to talk about, but I have to mention, I did that interview with Tina Peters. This is the trial of this century. People just didn't realize it. Tina Peters, a clerk in over elections in Mesa County, Colorado, took a snapshot of the system inner workings because of the anomalies that she was seeing, all of these things that weren't adding up. That's her job. She's supposed to do that. She's supposed to investigate and look at the system and software and say something's wrong here. And she was found guilty. I interviewed her right when they were going to trial, and she was found guilty. Her sentencing date is October the 3rd. And if America knew that she was honestly trying to bring to their attention election fraud, where she was exposing the fact that there were two different books being done with the votes. You had the votes that go into the machine, the ones that you're putting in, and they were taking people that wouldn't show up to vote, making a vote for them, all right? Because they could see in the system they weren't an active voter. Vote for them, create a whole second set of votes, and even manipulate votes that were in there. And the real one has the SHA file. The made-up one does not, and that's how you can tell the difference. And she started seeing this in the machinery. She started seeing this in the software. And pretty much they killed her husband, raided her home, and now she is going to go to prison. She's a wonderful woman and really strong in her convictions and really loves this country. And it's a really, really sad state of affairs. It's so troubling right now to see this happen to her because she was honestly in that trial for all of us, and we just lost that case. They desperately want you to believe that elections are real. Desperately. They're even willing to, our own intelligence agencies and the FBI are willing to do all of that to a person who hasn't even had as much as a parking ticket. They're willing to do that to cover up election fraud, and they desperately want us to believe the results. Just keep that in mind and say a prayer for her. She's facing, I think, over 7 counts that they made up. They literally made up because she was doing her job. She was actually allowed to do that. And they went ahead and made up all those counts. And it's beyond sickening. It's beyond sickening. Makes my stomach hurt to see this. All right. I'm going to give out the call-in number, 888-673-1450. Love to have you call in. I also want to expose this. This was from 1996. Okay? 1996. The Air Force published a report with a really provocative title called Weather as a Force Multiplier, Owning the Weather in 2025. Remember yesterday how I talked about they're going to hike insurance rates, and they're also going to say that city can't have home insurance. These parts can't have home insurance, or this part of the city can't have it. Because I think they're going to incrementally impose the fact that, oh, life's too crazy, weather's too rough, we can't have home insurance. That means no home ownership, right, for a lot of people, because they're not going to buy that outright, okay? Plus, people want to protect their huge investment. So this paper, published by the U.S. Air Force, they actually deleted it. You can still download it if you look and hunt for it, but it used to be right there, so it was easy to get to, and we know how the internet's changing, so it's not so easy anymore, okay? What's in this document? It's like 52 pages. Here are some of the parts I picked out for you, okay? Remember, it's Weather as a Force Multiplier, Owning the Weather in 2025, which is not very far off now, okay? We're standing sort of on the cusp of 2025, aren't we? Here it is. The essential ingredient, I'm quoting, the essential ingredient of the weather modification system is the set of intervention techniques used to modify the weather. The number of specific intervention methodologies is limited only by the imagination, but with a few exceptions, they involve infusing either energy or chemicals into the meteorological process in the right way, at the right place and time. The intervention could be designed to modify the weather in a number of ways, such as influencing clouds, precipitation, storm intensity, climate, space, or fog. This is 1996, okay? The Air Force continued on. They said the study ultimately found, because this is how it's done, the study ultimately found that the technology could be used, I'm quoting, to enhance rainfall on the mesoscale, generate cirrus clouds, enhance cumulonimbus clouds, thunderstorms. In other ways, dry areas, the technology can be described as follows. Just as a black tar roof easily absorbs solar energy and subsequently radiates heat during a sunny day, carbon black would also readily absorb solar energy, okay? When dispersed into microscopic or dust form in the air over a large body of water, the carbon becomes hot and the heat that surrounds air, thereby increasing the amount of evaporation from the body of water below. As the surrounding air heats up, parcels of air will rise and the water vapor continues, contained in the rising air parcel will continuously eventually condense to form clouds. All right. The cloud droplets increase in size as more and IDJRE water evaporates, condenses, and eventually they become too large and heavy to stay suspended, and they're going to fall like rain or other forms of precipitation. Okay. And then it went on to say this: defense abilities would be necessary for survival. Offensive abilities could provide spoofing options to create virtual weather in the enemy's sensory or information systems, making it more likely for them to make decisions, producing results of our choosing rather than theirs. It would also allow for the capability to mask or disguise our weather modification activities. And it goes on to talk about this work that's being done. It said UAVs, which can closely, if not completely, match the capabilities of piloted aircraft. If this UAV technology were combined with stealth and carbon dust technologies, the result would be an UAV aircraft invisible to radar while en route to the targeted area, which could spontaneously create carbon dust in any location. There's more, but it was so fascinating to read in 1996, so long ago, how they put this paper out there. They very much talked about the weaponization of it. Of course, they talked about the enemy, but now I wonder who that enemy always is, and I'm going to guess it's us. But I bring that to your attention because of this patent, and this patent was 1985, and I'll talk about that when I come back. But just so you know, and if anyone around you says this is a theory, I'm so sick of hearing the word theory. Like, really, people have got to stop it. I mean, it just means that you don't do any homework at all, because you have to call everything a theory. And, you know, what's interesting on the show is after over 35,000 hours of research, I can tell you, I got it all here. There's all kinds of evidence to everything, all kinds of evidence. There's more evidence on this side of it to prove what we're saying is true than they have in their cockamamie media stories. So you got to stop saying theory. It's been around a long time. John Brennan used to talk about it all the time. CIA commander that's a Russian spook. Anyways, it's all there. Be right back. Kate Daly Show, katedalleyradio.com. Call in right after the break. Be right back.
Thanks for listening to The Kate Daly Show. All opinions